Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome to Accelerated Biology 2020-2021. My name is Mr. Chawla, and if you have to get a hold of me, you can see my email down there, stephen.chawla@swcsd.us. Today, we are going to do some review and get into something new. So, um, we were talking about some expectations yesterday for our class and for Westland High School, and that is ROAR. And that is to be respectful, be organized, accountable, and responsible for actions to reach goals. So, all of these things, being respectful, organized, accountable, and responsible, are all ways that you can increase your success at school and in life. So, let's make sure we're focusing on those terms. We talked about some questions. We have a few more to talk about today. So, some questions to ponder was, what is the purpose of education? And that is to learn things. And why do we care about learning things? Well, if you have a little more information, if you have a little more knowledge, and you can connect all these little pieces of knowledge, then you're going to be in a better shape to make a better decision. And when you're a better decision maker, generally that leads to better success. In this class in particular, why study biology? Well, we're living things, and biology is the study of life. So, by being able to study what makes living things work, we understand ourselves a little better. A couple other questions. One is, why did you even take accelerated biology? This was not a required course. You could have taken regular biology. So you must have been interested in something more. Well, we need to really know what accelerated means. And generally, that means a little faster, a little more depth in the material. Might mean a little more of a challenge. So these are all ways you could define accelerated. And so if you're looking for a little more depth, a little faster pace, and more of a challenge, then you're in the right spot. Last two questions I'd like to talk about today are potential. What is potential? And some people have defined potential. Well, let me say this. You might have heard this person is achieving their potential. They're trying to reach their potential. Some people aren't reaching their potential. So these are things that we can kind of think about. And the question is, are you reaching your potential? So it's the ability to reach a certain level. So the question is, do you attempt to reach your potential in school? Do you attempt to reach your potential in life? And maybe you don't even know your potential. Sometimes you have to test your boundaries in order to figure out what your potential actually is. So think about, do you attempt to reach potential in school, in your education, and possibly even in life and all the things that you do? I would like to talk about the grading policy. Now, in terms of the grading policy, um, the grading policy is based on a number of things. One is participation. That's an end of a quarter grade. It's based on attendance, effort, trying to do all your assignments, being a positive participant in class. So if you're doing all of these positive things, then it's very, very easy to get full credit for participation. It's only when you're not attending class, you're not making any kind of effort, you're detracting from lecture or where we're doing some group work or things like that that create the issue. Homework, classwork, lab, that's also 10% of our grade. Ed puzzles, which are videos with questions, is also 10% of your grade. Projects, extended labs, reports, things that are much larger than a typical daily assignment, they might be 20% of your grade. And lastly, quizzes are 50% of your grade. The quizzes take up the bulk of your overall grade because it's important to know something. But when it comes to quizzes, don't be overwhelmed because I usually give you multiple chances to take them and give you questions ahead of time that allow you to prepare for the quiz. In terms of late work, there is no credit for any late work after the completion of the quiz over a certain topic. But up into the quiz, you're allowed to turn in work for full credit. So anything that's related to the topic is still full credit as long as it's done by the day of the quiz. Once the quiz has happened, no late work is accepted because we've moved on to other things. The last thing a lot of students like about my policy is that you may drop one you may drop one homework one ed puzzle, and one quiz. So you can technically drop 3 grades out of a quarter and they won't be counted against you. For example, maybe you didn't do well on them or you forgot to do them, things like that. And so that typically helps students' grades. So let's get back into biology. Biology, what is it? Well, it's the study of life. Well, what is life? Well, we can define it 2 ways. We can define it scientifically and philosophically. But in the scientific definition, we really refer to the characteristics of life. So if something is alive, it has all of the characteristics, and therefore we can consider it to be alive. If it's a philosophical definition, then it is an attitude held by a person as some kind of guiding principle. For example, what does life mean to you? When you say, this is the life, what does that actually mean? So you should be thinking about that as it relates to yourself. When we're talking about the characteristics of life, there are typically 8. Sometimes people condense them into 7, maybe even 6, but we're going to talk about 8. One is cells. If it has a cell or cells, it is alive. But it also needs to be organized at some level, whether it's the cellular level or as it's making its way up through tissues or organ systems. These are part of the organizational process. So you see some level of organization within living things. Metabolism. All organisms have the ability to use energy. They respond to stimuli that may be in the environment that affects them in some way. They grow and develop. They maintain homeostasis, which is a balance, some sort of temperature balance or sugar regulation or water regulation, some type of balance, some type of homeostasis. They adapt and evolve as a species. So they change over a period of time, but that's the species or populations that we're talking about, not specifically the individual. So individuals don't have the ability to evolve, but populations and species do. And how that happens is through reproduction and the ability to pass on genes from one generation to the next with small changes that we call mutations. And after a period of time, those mutations within populations kind of build up, and that changes the population or the species. So now that we have gone through that, we have an assignment, which is what is life? So on the classwork page, we're going to complete the following questions on the document that was provided. We're going to define biology. We're going to write the 8 characteristics of life, which is really the scientific definition of life. We're going to write your philosophical definition of life. So what does life mean to you? I need you to define what accelerated means in accelerated biology. I need you to write an answer to the question, do you attempt to reach your potential in school and in life? And please explain. Yes, I noticed that as I went through this, there are 2 number 4s. Please make the second number 4 number 5 in your mind because there are technically 5 questions. So I appreciate you watching this video, and if you have any questions, you can ask them during the live session, which will start at 10:30. All right, please check your classwork page, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.